Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bree and Joe Show. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've been playing a lot of Space Marine 2 with my wife Bree, and some of my buddies have been really getting into it. I have a good friend of mine, Kurt, here with me, who's fairly new to the Warhammer franchise, so I thought we'd go through kind of like a lore / just BS quick form podcast type thing. How you doing today, Kurt?
I'm good, man. Keeping busy, but doing good.
Good. So I thought it would be interesting to start out with kind of like the big cheese. I thought I'd grill you on your current knowledge of the God Emperor of mankind, because he's mentioned a lot in Space Marine 2, but I don't really think they get into his lore very much. So tell me what you know about old Big E.
Well, outside of the game, which, like you said, they really don't talk about him much that I know of, that I can recall. I think they just mostly use, like, throne to replace any phrase we have for God or heavens or anything like that.
Yeah.
Throne or emperor or something like that. But outside of that, there was that recent patch they did to the game where people are suspecting that the Big E was talking to Titus himself at the very, very end, saying, "Rise, son of Gilliman."
Yeah.
So I don't think the game really touches on all that much that I can remember. Mostly what I have down for the Big E is what you've told me here and there throughout the last few years, and that's just that he's been around forever. Like he was back in the caveman times. A bunch of sorcerers said stuff's gonna get real, so we better go ahead and make our psychic Jesus.
Yeah, basically.
So they poured everything they had into this guy. And Big E is a perpetual, so he can't die and he lives forever, and if he does die, he just comes back. But he's been around since, like, caveman times. Just kind of did few little things here and there to kind of help things along the way. Major historical figures were just him with, like a fake mustache from Party City.
Yeah, 100%.
And then eventually he decided to actually drop the whole act whenever, after the Long Night, where humanity went to the stars, colonized a million worlds, and technology got to biblical and absolutely magic levels, and then there was a collapse as the technology and AI rebelled. The Men of Iron rebelled against them. That, or from some lore channels I've seen, it sounds like there might also be like a little bit more of like a Matrix thing than a Terminator thing, where maybe we stroke first or something. I'm not sure. There's just a little bit of stuff there. There's not a lot of info.
There was a lot of things that happened in Old Night that kind of, it's kind of like the hurricane hits Florida, and then there's a fire, and then like a nuclear war. Kind of just happened all at once.
Gotcha. So with that, Emperor dropped the pretense and came back and said, "Yeah, I'm the big guy. I am that guy. So follow me, or there's not much of an option other than that. Follow me." And he enforced his will with the Thunder Warriors, the first attempt at making Space Marines.
Yeah, dude.
Which, if he's God, they'd be like his angels.
Yeah, they were my favorite. By far, my favorite piece of lore are the Thunder Warriors. There's barely any writing about them, but I listen to audio dramas all about them as often as I possibly can, because I love the Thunder Warriors.
I am a little curious about that. I'd love to touch on them a little bit later. Said there's not a lot of info for it, but he used them to unite Terra, and then he struck out across the stars looking for his sons, or I don't know exactly when the Primarchs came into being, but he made 20 sons, the Primarchs, to be his generals, his war masters, to get out there and maintain humanity. But things got a little whack there. Somebody sent them somewhere for some reason. I think there was some recent lore saying that it was actually the other Perpetual that served as like the maternal figure for the Primarchs, was the one who's like, "I don't want my sons to be generals, so I'm just going to send them everywhere."
Yeah.
And but originally it was thought to be like a chaos god doing that preemptively or something along those lines.
There's a couple of people that all played a hand and all claim responsibility for it. And the Big E himself has never said who did what, Gotcha. It's very clear that he was there, when the Primarchs got scattered, because some of the Primarchs have memories of him, like, chilling out in the lab or being nearby. And Constantine Valdor, which is the Custodian's general and like his right-hand man next to Malcador. In one of his books, he's like running through the Imperial Palace as the Primarchs are being scattered, and he's trying to like contact the Emperor because the Emperor's in the lab. So another big theory is that it's an inside job, because the Primarchs all get scattered to worlds that work really well for them, and their individual personalities. If you were a Chaos God or a malignant figure, why wouldn't you just throw them into like deep space?
Yeah.
And
Or it could have been the long game by the Chaos God saying that, why would I just eliminate them when I would still have to deal with the Big E? Why not turn against him and make our own weapon?
Yeah.
Make his weapons turn into ours.
I agree. I just suck them into the warp and do it from there. But
Also fair, then you get all 20.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't just scatter them and hope for the best. I'd be like, all right, I'm kidnapping these. They're mine now.
But at that point, if it's very obvious where they all are and you play all your hand, wouldn't the Big E then launch a crusade into the warp?
Yeah, you've touched on a lot of points that I'd like to circle back to, but this is kind of the big one, is how powerful is the Emperor? Because it of course, the Emperor's been around for a long, long time, but in the writing of GW that started back in like the 70s, he was like an all-powerful figure. Then it fluctuated a little bit to where he wasn't like much more than just a corpse that was powering this thing. And then with the psychic awakening and the Great Rift, and the recent Siege of Terra books, it seems like he's on par with like all 4 Chaos Gods combined.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. From my limited information on the topic, it seems like they have put him on a pedestal where the Chaos Gods, if not have to work together just to have a chance against him, have to work together to make sure that at least all of them are safe against him.
Right. And this appears to be while he's in the material universe. So when the Emperor went to create the Primarchs, he went to a planet called Molech, which has a lot of significance within the lore. And he brought a bunch of Space Marine legions with him. I think he brought the Emperor's Children, the Lunar Wolves, and like the Raven Guard or something. And there was like one weird throwaway legion. Or maybe it was the Iron Hands. I don't remember. But he'd gone there before, and he'd left Perpetuals there to watch over a stable warp portal. And he used that portal to go into the warp for an extended period of time. And when he came out, he was significantly more powerful and knew how to make the Primarchs. And this is before the Great Crusade. So he just conquered Terra. He took a trip to like Mars, to the Moon, to Saturn, to a whole bunch of other planets that he wanted to get on site. And Molech being one of them that he previously visited because he knew that this warp portal was there. And then he returned to Terra with all of his new friends and new tech in order to make the Primarchs, with the few Perpetuals that were still his friends. And it's thought that he didn't just use his own DNA and Malcador's DNA and animal DNA, that he also used DNA from different Perpetuals. So the Primarchs might be a little bit Warp God, a little bit him, a little bit,
Other Perpetuals.
Yeah, Dingus Bingus.
You're saying Perpetuals a lot. I didn't realize that there was that many of them. I thought that was like the three that were kind of his entourage, like him and what's the girl's name? The one that
Erda.
that was Erda. Him, Erda, and Malcador. I thought that they were like the big ones. I didn't realize there was so many of them.
There's like a handful. They're referenced throughout the lore, and 2 show up kind of predominantly throughout the Horus Heresy books, but they're like my least favorite part of the Horus Heresy because you can't really get a lot of tension for characters that physically cannot die,
Very true, yeah.
Oh, I'm in a war book. I've got a shotgun and I can't die. Oh, so you win the war. Like,
I was kind of curious about how many there were and how that kind of worked. I mean, of course, space magic and immaterium and things like that. Somebody who just lives forever and kind of comes back is not all that special. But the idea that it's supposed to take place kind of like concurrently with our time, and it just takes place in the very, very far future. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a few
that-
of them that have been around since like the Argonauts. And then there's some that were born during like the French Revolution or later during the Age of Strife.
So they can be made. They can be born later. I was under the
Yeah.
impression it was kind of like. Well, again, I don't know anything about them, so I was kind of thinking that they were like all there since the beginning.
No.
And I thought it'd be kind of funny if it's just like, yeah, of course he knows all the Perpetuals. He's been around forever. Who else are you gonna be friends with?
The Emperor made it a point in like his early life to try and gather all of the Perpetuals he could find, but new ones can just be born at random. And some aliens, there's a group called the Cabal, who like artificially made a Perpetual named John Grammaticus. But it kind of feels like he wasn't a real Perpetual. He was just kind of like a cat, where he had a few extra lives, and eventually those get burned out of him.
So he found a few extra lives in Mario, and that's about it.
Yeah, basically. You know, he got the mushroom, got a little taller, and then somebody came and stabbed the shit out of him. Now he's short. Poor guy.
Okay, so, but the Perpetuals, it sounds like a lot of them did end up dying during the Horus heresy. I know that Malkador, you said, got pretty messed up, and
Yeah.
Perpetuals
super
can,
dead.
Yeah. So they can be killed, but they have to. You said you have to be killed in like 3 different ways all at once. What was that again?
Yeah, they have to be like mega killed. Like they have to be hit by like both physical damage, psychic damage, and like soul rending mind damage. So like when Malkador takes the Golden Throne, he's like on fire, physically on fire, being massively electrocuted by this alien device that's been juiced up by the Emperor. The Chaos Gods are trying to like mentally break him, and his soul is being torn apart in the warp for what he feels like is an eternity. And he has to do that for what he thinks is an eternity while the Emperor fights Horus. So when the Emperor comes back, Malkador is super dead. Like, he just basically turns to dust when they try and pick him up off the chair.
So Malkador is 100% for sure Gonzo Dunzo.
Yeah, there's only like 5 characters in Warhammer lore that we know are like super dead. Malkador and Horus are the 2 that come to mind. At least in the old lore, when the Emperor killed Horus, he like mega psychic banished him and destroyed his soul. And the new lore, when he's killing him, the line is like, at the end of the day, it was just a father killing his son with a stone knife. And he looks at Horus and he says, I forgive you, and I wait for you, or something like that. Like, I'll see you soon. And then he lets Horus die. So it doesn't feel like he ultra killed his soul, or maybe the Emperor was just trying to make him feel better. You know? Yeah.
Or maybe, so that, okay, I didn't know that there was all that. I thought that, like you said, that Horus was like super mega ultra dead. Like, the Emperor went out of his way to specifically make sure there's absolutely no way that this guy could be brought back.
That was the old lore, and in the new lore they like hint at it because the Emperor can't fight Horus one-on-one during their duel because Horus is just like super juiced up. The Emperor's been beaten down and he's like pretty tired, so he just keeps tricking him. So like they have like this weird Yu-Gi-Oh battle where they're like throwing cards at each other. I don't know why that happened, but it was pretty dumb. The Emperor's like, haha, I play an Uno reverse card, and Horus is like, no! And then the Emperor like stabs him in the head. What the hell? So he keeps doing weird stuff like that, where like he pretends to be dead, so Horus like drags him to a throne, and then the Emperor like whips around and stabs him in the stomach. Or like the Horus tries to like put like a crown on his head that will make him evil, and the Emperor.
Yeah, what was that about?
So Horus, he wasn't like fully corrupted by chaos in the sense that he still had his own free will, and the Chaos Gods wanted him to have his own free will because he was such a smart dude, but
he realized if he was being controlled.
Yeah, he realized he was being controlled, and also he didn't want to be alone. So he was trying to corrupt basically all of the Primarchs and the Emperor. he wanted the Emperor to join him because that would be like the ultimate proof that he did the right
His methodology was right.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So strangely enough, he wanted the Emperor to become like the avatar of Slaanesh, which is like the god of depravity.
Weird.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be like Tzeentch or something, because
I would think just Chaos Undivided.
Yeah, something. Weird that he went with Slaanesh, but also kind of cool because his reasoning was that his dad was always like so uptight, and he always demanded perfection, and he wanted to like do everything for everyone all the time. He was like, I'm just gonna get my dad rizzed up on fentanyl for the rest of eternity.
Simultaneously, you could kind of say the same thing about any other god. I mean, he stood for order against the chaos, and that would be directly against Tzeentch. So he could possess him with Tzeentch, like you said, or he stands for control and for discipline and temperance, which would be the opposite of the bloodlust god of Khorne.
Yeah.
Well, he stands for structure and for things that last forever. He wants to build a forever imperium of mankind that will last beyond even he.
Right.
And then, that would be in direct opposition to Nurgle. So he stands for the exact opposite of everything that the gods of chaos stand for, if you want to try and twist their ideologies and methodologies around a little bit. And he could be possessed by any of them. Or, again, Chaos Undivided.
This is where, like, my personal opinion comes in. I think Horus was doing it to try and, like, be as nice as possible to his dad. Because I think he just wanted his dad to... Although, of course, being possessed by a Chaos God is super bad. But it seems like the Slaaneshi ones and the Nurgle ones are having the most fun. So, I think he just kind of was like, you know what, Dad? Yeah, I'm going to make you the avatar of Slaanesh. Because I'm going to be Chaos Undivided, obviously. I'm the big head honcho. Yeah.
Gotcha.
You can do all the fun stuff with the Slaaneshi things. I think he was going to turn, like, Rogel Dorn into Khorne. Sanguinius was going to be Nurgle, I think. And Constantine Valdor was going to be Tzeentch. I could be wrong about that.
Constantine Valdor? I don't know that one.
So Constantine is the head honcho of the custodians. And he was like...
Gotcha.
I don't know if he was the first custodian, but he was the one that the Emperor spent like the most time with. What was he called? He was called like the Custodian General or something like that. He's basically the Custodian's Primarch. And all the other Primarchs kind of think he might be a pseudo Primarch, like a test for them. There was another Primarch test called like the Great Angel, not Sanguinius. That lore's kind of out to date, but the Emperor practiced a lot. So he created some Proto-Space Marines in between the Thunder Warriors and the Space Marines with Chimeric Gene Seed, just to see what would happen. So, splice together some of the Primarch DNA and see what comes out. He created a couple of Proto-Primarchs, and Constantine might be one of them. Probably because he could fight the Primarchs to a standstill, if not kill them.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And the Emperor also gave him... he gave out 2 spears during the Siege of Terra / Horus Heresy. One he gave to Leman Russ to try and kill Horus with, and the other one he gave to Constantine, so that Constantine could turbo kill demons. When it stabs a demon, he learns its true name, so he could banish it forever. So him and between him and Malkador, those are really the Emperor's 2 major friends.
Was he also perpetual?
No, he's just a custodian, and he's probably dead. He was there.
Why?
Huh?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, why didn't the Emperor make Perpetuals into Space Marines?
I think he didn't want that. The writing is kind of unclear as to how pro just being human for the Emperor is, but he just wanted the species to evolve naturally to become the best that they can, because he viewed the Perpetuals and kind of himself as the epitome of mankind. So his thought process was, if he just gives them a safe and secure galaxy, He'd step down.
And they can take over.
Yeah, he'd step down and just let natural evolution happen.
But I thought one of the big things behind him kind of getting rid of the Thunder Warriors is that they wouldn't be able to reintegrate into normal society once there was that utopia discovered. And so that's probably, and I don't think he thought that way about his sons or even himself, that they would be around once his work was done. I don't know what he planned, but it sounded like from the little tidbit I had found about that, it sounded almost like he was planning on like going to sleep for a bit.
Yeah,
after
he was probably going to die. So he did keep the Thunder Warriors around for a couple of reasons. One, they were just genetically real bad. They would have like heart attacks and dementia and aneurysms and all kinds of stuff. They were really unstable, but he needed them to be like that because the candle that burns brightest, you know, he just needed them to go full rage mode and be ultra loyal to him because the stuff that they were fighting on Earth was insane, like real bad. There's some people that say that the Unification Wars was actually worse than the Siege of Terra. Just
how can that be? I mean, I know the technology was probably still crazy at that point, but if that still existed and they're maintaining that technology, I can't understand how that would be worse.
I don't know.
Than the
I think it's probably like the horror of it may have been worse because it was just humans on humans as opposed to like an external
the Great Crusade.
threat. Yeah. Well, the Great Crusade.
The Great Crusade.
Yeah, but it was more like Napoleonic wars, you know? Like everybody was showing up in their nice uniforms and be like, ho, 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 my good man. We are going to attack you at dawn, you know? No sneaky business, okay? Whereas, like, the Unification Wars was just, like, mega techno-barbarians throwing microwave guns at each other and causing, like, radiation nuclear winters because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They just hate you so much that they're gonna unleash, like, 4 bloody nanoviruses and hope that kills you. I don't know. But there's some weird stuff about that. But yeah, so he got rid of the Thunder Warriors because they were massively unstable, both genetically and mentally.
Gotcha.
And also, because they couldn't reintegrate. Because he's like, you know, there's no way we can put these guys on a spaceship and, you know, fly them around for 20 years. They'll either kill everybody or have a heart attack. So
neither is good.
Yeah, neither is optimal. Yeah, what was the second part that we were talking about?
We were talking about the Perpetuals being Space Marines, but then we also touched on...
Yeah, so the Emperor also had made like a beautiful like house and garden and all this stuff for him and the other Primarchs. And Malkador is quoted on like helping him work out the room situation and all these things because he believed that most of the Primarchs could be rehabilitated, probably minus Conrad Kurz and Angron, and be fashioned into just like a pretty chill role where eventually the Primarchs will die off. They don't believe they're fully immortal, like they do age. So the Emperor would spend time with them until they died of old age, I guess.
Okay.
And then the Emperor also mentions to several of his Primarchs that he planned on dying at some point, and leaving humanity with like a better world or universe to deal with. He wanted them to go to like other galaxies and do all kinds of stuff. And he made the suggestion that he'd be dead at that point. So who knows if that's true or not.
He heavily implied that.
Yeah. You know, whether or not...
I think that's the same passage I was talking about. Like, that the way he spoke of the future of mankind was almost alluding to him and the Primarchs not being there.
Yeah, 100%. He's like, all right, guys, eventually we're all going to die. Everything ends. Although...
But humanity shall not.
Yeah, exactly. There's a great point in the Conrad Kurz. Do you know about Conrad Kurz at all?
Yeah, the Mega Edgelord.
Yeah, Mega
from the gangster dystopian city where he took over and ruled through fear.
Yes.
And he's like,
super
yeah, this
bad,
totally
man.
works. And then he was gone, and within 10 years it was back to absolute shit.
Yeah, it turns out he didn't fix the food problem. You know, that may have been it. Like, yeah, everybody was in line because he'd skinned them, but they still don't have enough to eat. Like, what the hell, dude? Yeah, so he's not very smart. And at the end of the Horus heresy, Conrad Kurz didn't go to Terra. He just kind of like wandered around and did like murder hobo stuff. He was basically your schizophrenic girlfriend off her meds, just, stabbing random old women on the street or whatever. So he builds like an effigy to the Emperor out of like a whole bunch of corpses, and he puts a corpse on the throne to act as like the golden throne. And he has this weird vision where he talks to the Emperor, and the Emperor says, nothing really dies. At the end of the day, I could have saved you. I could have brought you back. You're of my genetic code, and I kind of own you. So if we ever get to talk again together, I forgive you, and I'll redeem you. And Conrad says, never. Like, I don't want to be redeemed. You could have made me ruthless, but instead you made me evil. And the Emperor is just like, kick rocks, nerd. Like, you made your own choices. So then he like psychically blasts Conrad Kurz in like a big thing of light, and then disappears. And then Conrad allows himself to be murdered by assassins. The only Primarch to die to a human. It's kind of cool.
I was kind of curious about that. So it was one assassin, right? Like one assassin that was just like he saw coming, and if I remember correctly, or if I'm understanding it properly, he was just like, well, I mean, obviously they're gonna come for me. They're gonna get me. The only way for me to win is to die now.
Yeah.
It's like before I can face punishment.
Exactly. He was like so mentally deranged, and also he was breaking down. Like his sons noticed that he's like drooling blood, and his eyes are like trying to like pop out of his head, and he's becoming more ghoulish. Like there was something physically wrong with him as well. Whether or not that was a symptom of his mental instability or something else was going wrong with him, but who knows? But all of his sons know what's happening, and he tells them like, let this woman, and it was a woman who came to kill him, show up and let her kill me, because I have committed so many sins. I need to be punished. Like, that's justice. And we believe in justice. That's why we do the things that we do. The ends justify the means. If they kill me, they won't kill you. I'll take the punishment, type of thing. And for some reason, they believe him and let this happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it didn't seem like that worked out well for them then.
No, it's super dumb. So yeah, there's a
plus, weren't most of them like weren't most of them like the worst criminals on his planet?
Yeah, they were. They were
like the nobles and trying to have like regular people. But then, if once he was gone, there was absolutely no more oversight. But it's like, well, I mean, he won't be able to tell the difference. Let's go ahead and send him our worst peeps.
Yeah.
And he just straight up decided to nuke his home planet when he realized, oh, they're fucking with me.
Exactly. And it's weird because in later stages of the lore, that's exactly who the Space Marines recruit. Like, they'll go to Death Worlds and Hive Worlds and, like, recruit the gangster children because they make the best recruits. Like, they're good at killing people, they're savage, whatever that is. And then Conrad went and nuked his own world for giving him, like, the best recruits ever. So super weird. The Imperial Fists are known to recruit from the Terran Underhives as well as Necromunda, that has, like, all of those crazy gangs. Like, those are the kids that they recruit. So it seems like it's a bit hypocritical on Conrad's point, or just dumb. And he makes a bunch of dumb decisions. But I think that's okay. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I figured we'll cut it off here. It's been about 30 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me, Kurt. I hope you guys learned a little something or just enjoyed us having this weird chitter-chatter.
Happy to, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Talk to you soon, bud.
Peace out.